listening to the Hometown Losers, the St. Louis Sports Podcast, with Josh, Adam, and OJ.
Hey everybody, welcome back here to the Hometown Losers Podcast. I'm joined by my co-host here, as always, by Adam and OJ. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
I'm doing well, Josh.
I'm glad to be back. We took a week off, I know, last week, but glad to be back, and I'm glad that my voice is back as well. So,
yeah, I know these allergies have been killing everybody. So it's been it's got to be hard if you're dealing with allergies, especially around like Adam. I know you've been dealing with grass, pollen in general. I know it's just through the roof.
Yeah, now it's finally getting better. So anyway, but I'm glad to be back, and obviously here to talk about some sports. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Now we finally made it to June. Today is June 1st. So
yes,
awesome.
It is.
June. Actually, OJ, do you have allergies by chance? I don't remember if you have allergies.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, mine have been okay this year so far, which is surprising.
Really? That's crazy.
But I've had like in the past, mostly during like spring and fall, I'll get just these times where I'll just not be able to stop sneezing.
Yeah,
but,
I got you.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of getting out of that time of year, and it wasn't super bad this year for me, so that's good.
Which is interesting because it's been really bad for a lot of people. I know my dad was really hit hard. My both my sister and my brother have been hit really hard with it. So it's crazy, man. So
yeah, a lot of my family's been
consider yourself lucky on that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
It sucked there for a few days. And going to Point Fest as well with not being able to breathe and being outside, for 9+ hours or whatever. It's like, oh my God. I was like, just dope me up.
OJ, you should have heard of it. He's like, it was so funny. He had that like really like, it sounds like a flu, right? But
yeah,
I'm just like, all right, man, we're going to you need to go up to some people and be like, excuse me, can you lead me to the young adult section? Just being a creep about it because it's like, oh my God.
I had the creeper voice, no doubt. So it probably was a good idea for us to be off last week because I definitely had the creeper voice. I'm not gonna lie, it was so creepy. Yeah, I definitely had the creeper voice, and it was disturbing. So I'm kind of glad that we were able to take off last week after that. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, it was bad. That's why
it was so
like,
awkward.
All right, yeah, we're gonna take a break here. On this one, so.
Yeah. I was like, my voice thanks you very much for that. So
yeah. All right, gents, let's go ahead and dive into it here. Let's talk a bit about some Cardinals baseball. So the current standings for the Cardinals: 25-32. They're 4.5 games behind the Brewers for the Central lead. We're fourth in the Central currently. We're 4 games behind Miami. Yes, the fucking Miami Marlins are in a playoff spot right now. They're ahead of us. We're 4 games behind them for the last wild card spot. Since our last session, since we missed a session, they're 5-6 with 1 series win, 2 splits, and 1 loss. So, guys, let's just do a general analysis here since we, missed a week. That 5-6 obviously is not where we need to go. OJ, let's start on you. What's your current feelings about the team in general?
Optimistic. I mean, it does seem like they kind of have settled in and started performing the way we thought they could. And I mean, they're still playing okay despite, losing their entire starting outfield at this point. So, I wish that Jordan Walker was a little better in the outfield because this would be great. Perfect time to have him. But
well, he's coming back. Okay. They just called him up.
Oh, did they?
They just did. They made the announcement. Yep, they just made the announcement. Yep.
I hope Jose Akendo worked his magic, dude. Like,
yeah, no kidding.
I don't know if he normally works with the AAA team, but like that would be a special assignment. If I was Jose, like, I'd call him up. I'd be like, "You have one job only for the foreseeable future. Teach this dude to play."
Exactly.
Yeah, I think he's going to be playing. I believe he's going to be playing I guess technically tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. He'll be playing tomorrow.
Cool.
They called him up.
That's crazy. That's good though, because I know that O'Neill's been dealing with injuries, right?
O'Neill, obviously, I was going to say Carlson. They're both on the injury, the IL. Plus Newt, he was out Tuesday after he injured his back. on Monday. So
injuries.
Yeah, so basically our outfield is just So
wasn't not that long ago they were talking about trading away an outfielder because we had access. Now
that's our big hole right now. I mean, I think that I anticipate that that he'll be coming back soon. I'm hoping that Newt will be coming back soon. They didn't put him on the IL at least, so I guess it's day by day at this point.
That's really interesting. I definitely didn't know anything about that. Well, OJ, you said you're optimistic for it. I kind of feel the same way since we were kind of like a little bit on a rise there, and obviously it's now kind of like evened out, so to speak. Adam, what's your feelings on the team?
Yeah, so I mean, as of Tuesday, because we obviously just wrapped up 19 days of 19 games. If anybody's been keeping track of it, we finished of those 19 games, we finished 12-7. And so we're doing better than we certainly started the season as, for sure. When we were like 10 for what was it, like 22. I mean, it was embarrassing, So at least we have a winning, we're starting to go in the right direction. I feel optimistic. And for me, it looked like DeYoung was starting to step up as well.
Mm-hmm.
He actually, of all the players out there, he actually played 18 of the 19 games, actually a field position, and he looked pretty good defensively, and his offense has been kind of turning around as well. So, I was kind of happy with seeing that. Overall, obviously, I think right now, like we were just talking about, the big glaring hole in the outfield. Hopefully, with Walker coming up, maybe they've made some improvements, but we'll see. So we're going to be starting a couple trips out. I was going to say we're going to be away. We're going to be playing the Cubs. Sorry, not the Cubs. We're tied with the Cubs. We're going to be playing the Pirates.
We're facing the Pirates, yeah.
Yeah, we're playing the Pirates, and then so that'll be interesting if we can make any headway because since we are tied with the Cubs, we may actually, if we can come in way with winning the series like we have been recently for the most part, we might actually make it into third place or more potentially. So that'd be awesome.
I was about to say, that's the thing is it's only 4.5 games at this point.
Yeah, we're still very much into this,
Yeah, they always said that you don't want to look at the standings since it's such a long season or so many games until Memorial Day weekend, and it's not the greatest when you look at that, right?
And the thing is obviously for me is, of course, I'm looking at the series where we're facing division rivals, of course, because we're going to face them less times overall compared to what we're used to. So these really are important games to win. So with this series coming up against the Pirates, and considering they're only a half game out, this is a very important series for us to try to make some headway here,
Yep.
So I'm hoping that we can at least win this series to take a couple games for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's where it's going to be. I mean, we just got to focus. I mean, you're not too far out anymore. You just got to focus on trying to win series, especially like, okay, so look, you split against the Royals. Okay, whatever. But you cannot split against Cincinnati. You got to be able to win the games against your divisional rivals, obviously.
100%.
So it's especially a series, you're okay with losing a game here or there, but you got to try to take 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4. It is what it is. But let's get a little bit further into it now. Who's kind of the unsung hero, and on the adverse of that, who's kind of like the villain? I'll kind of start here because you already brought up DeYoung, Adam.
Yeah.
So just kind of looking at it, right? So DeYoung is only played in 31 games so far this season, which is a lot less than most. He's had 107 at bats, and he's batting .234, which is below average. But he's kind of heated off.
But as of late, though, as of late, though, he has been showing up. Like I said, in the past 18 of the last 19, he's been there, and he's starting to show up a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Right. Again, he's batting .234, but he's slugging .495, .806 on OPS. He's got 18 RBIs and 8 home runs, which is one behind Nolan Arenado. I'll do one even better. This is, and I'm going to eat crow here, because, and I think I mentioned it last season. But a guy that I thought that we should trade was Nolan Gorman. And the guy's like our MVP right now when it comes to hitting. He's batting 272, which is right now only behind Goldschmidt, who's batting 292. 51. Yeah, 51 games he's played. Go ahead, OJ.
Oh, I was gonna say Paul Goldschmidt's actually probably been our best offensive player so far.
He definitely has.
It's very close. We basically have 2 Paul Goldschmidts on our team so far this year, which is crazy.
And you're 100% right, because when you look at Gorman compared to Goldschmidt leads in a lot of categories where Gorman leads in the others. So like Gorman leads the team with 13 home runs and 41 RBIs. He's also leading in slugging with 555. His OPS is 915, which is incredibly good. So there are definitely things to it. And as you said too prior, OJ, that he's actually picked up a little bit more on the defensive side.
Yeah. I mean, he looks absolutely competent at second base. Like, he kind of looks like you could just roll him out there every day, which is sick. I mean, that would be a super valuable player right there. If he plays decent second base defense and hits like this, I mean, he'd be like a perennial all-star, basically. So
yeah, for sure. And it changes your ideology, what you have in the infield. You know what I mean? Because now, okay, so if Paul DeJong can come back and all of a sudden start being Paul DeJong from 3 years ago, okay, what do you do about Tommy Edman? Because like Tommy Edman and Brendan Donovan both cannot be those rovers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, Brendan Donovan obviously can kind of play wherever. Tommy Edman's kind of middle infield. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, Tommy Edman's done okay in the outfield this year, though, too. I mean,
he has.
Again, it's only super small defensive sample size, so maybe doesn't mean much, but he's serviceable, like kind of like Brendan Donovan, where like they'll make some decent plays out. They'll make some pretty good plays out there, even if they aren't natural at the position.
Exactly. They're not making Gold Glove plays, but they're making the smart, safe play.
Well, yeah, and like they both have decent range because they're both decently fast. And that's obviously super important for the outfield.
Yeah.
So yeah, they cover some ground though. Like that's what kills me about having like Burleson in left or in Yepes in right, or if you have one guy and that dude covers no ground, and Yepes doesn't either. But also Yepes, I don't think has mastered the fundamentals of playing the outfield even. Those guys are DHs through and through, or maybe they could stick at a corner in the infield somewhere, but they're not fast enough for the outfield.
Yeah, and that's what I feel Yepes for sure is kind of like what they call it, the right line player. So he's playing first or he's right field. That's it. You know what I mean? That's just kind of like my feeling about Yepes. No, that's what I'm saying, man. He doesn't have. Yeah. You need to have not only so you don't need to have like in center field is typically where you're going to put your fastest player because it makes smart because they can cover the most ground. It's where they're going to be moving around a lot. But the left field, you definitely need to have the best first step outfielder out there because obviously you're going to see a lot of action. I'm sorry?
You need some range in left. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you definitely don't need, again, that overall top. You don't need like Harrison Bader in left, for example. But what you do need is you need a guy that can move, quickly or be able to track down the ball quickly and get to a line. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that's where
it also has a decent arm, obviously too. So he can actually.
That's a good point too. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's why it's awesome to have Carlson in center, O'Neill in left, and Newt Barr in right because they all can cover some ground.
Yeah.
So shit shouldn't really drop if they're playing well. So, of course, we have none of them healthy right now. So.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
That's our problem. So we're used to talk about pitching, needing some help, but obviously, with all these injuries and stuff, it's not been helping us. But surprisingly, we've done pretty well, all things considered. So.
Yeah.
Well, so Adam, let me ask you here. So I kind of went through, 2 unsung heroes, and I know that's a little unfair because I took Gorman and DeJong, which are probably the standouts. Is there anybody else to you, Adam, that kind of stands out as an unsung hero for the Cardinals?
Yeah,
right now?
I mean, for me, I know I was going to say we mentioned DeJong, we mentioned Donovan, Edman, those guys. Also, I would say we need to make sure that we're, highlighting Goldie a little bit as well. Because right now, like Arenado just hasn't been the same Nolan we've been seeing for a little while. He's been in a sort of a slump for a little bit. So, if I was going to call somebody out as far as performance wise from what we're used to seeing, definitely Arenado. I don't
So would you
anticipate
label
that.
him as a villain?
Well, it's hard for me to call him a villain, but
I know, right?
I mean, he's
my
been in a
favorite player on the
slump.
Cardinals.
I know.
Totally,
It's like,
yeah, exactly.
I can't really call him a villain, but he's just been in a slump. That.
Yeah, it's
So,
just as you said, it's not Nolan. It's not what we've seen from him
not
in the past
normally
few
what we
years.
see. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously Goldie, and I think Goldie's been stepping up in a few different ways. Obviously, not only offensively, defensively, but also as a team leader as well. So, definitely glad to see that from Goldie for sure. But
For sure.
it's hard for me to like label a villain right now, I guess, because
I know,
overall,
yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty satisfied with at least the way we're playing. At least I feel like we're headed in the right direction again. So, I'm not nearly as upset about things, compared to a few weeks ago when we were just god awful. We're just
Well, we'll
cringing
see.
to
I mean,
watch
because
games. So.
you got to think that literally in 2 weeks we went 5-6. So in the next 2 weeks, if we go 5-6, we're still heading in the wrong direction. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
Only
But
50% of your
I'm
games.
looking at the
Less than.
overall month of May as a
Picture. I get it.
general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we had a win. Looking at May, we had a winning record. So, and then looking
That's all you
ahead.
can ask for, winning the month.
Yeah, and then obviously looking ahead, I think that we'll probably make some changes in the rotation as well. We probably will no longer see, Mats in the rotation. We'll probably be seeing more Lipitor as well. So, I think there'll be some, conversation about the makeup of the position players and such, and there might be some mixing up, some movements as we've seen before. But I think it's, the Cardinals are definitely going to look different as the calendar turns, as we're getting later on in the season for sure. It's definitely necessary for to make those differences, to make improvements, So that's how we're,
sure.
I think by adapting, we'll do all right, I feel like we're at least starting to grasp that, whereas I felt like we were just sort of spinning in circles and not really making any headway. You know what I mean?
Well, for sure. No, it definitely makes sense. As players are starting to finally, unlock some of that potential that we saw at the beginning of the year, it started to feel better. It started to feel like Cardinals baseball. But again,
Yeah.
I feel like we still got a little bit of the ways to go.
Oh,
OJ.
sure.
Oh, sorry, Adam.
No, I was just gonna say, no, sure, I definitely agree with that. We're not out of the hole yet. I mean, considering we're still in in last place in the in the standings per se, or well, I think we're tied for last place or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, the point is that we still got some ground to make up for sure.
For sure. OJ, besides the three that we mentioned of DeYoung, Gordon, and Goldschmidt, is there anybody else that you kind of like label as a hero?
Sure. Let's Miles Michaelis. I mean,
yeah,
he's one of the guys that's turning it around too. I mean, you talk about pitching stabilizing. I mean, he's in the this month, April and March, he had a 5.97 ERA, and he had a 1.89 ERA throughout May. So he was basically lights out every time he went out in May. So
he's got a winning record now too, doesn't he? I think he's like 4-2 now.
I don't look at wins and losses, Josh, so I couldn't tell you.
That is true. I mean, you look at more for like ERA and stuff like that. But I was just surprised because I think he started the season out of like 0-1 because he couldn't even get to a decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is weird. But, so he's kind of gotten back down to being better. I think that's been a catalyst for them turning around. He's kind of been the stopper recently. And then Brendan Donovan's also starting to. His approach is reverting back to how it was last year. More of like he's starting to walk more. So now let me see here monthly. So in the first month plus March, He only walked 6.6% of the time with a 17.6% K rate, a 330 on base percentage, which is much lower than what he has ever posted in his career. But in the month of May, he's up to a 14.8% walk rate with a 358 on base percentage. So that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's
and
nice
that's
to
more
have
him too.
Bar. Yeah. It's nice to have Newt Bar to lead off though, because he really, I don't know, he's not BABIPing his. He's got the 380 on base percentage. So I mean, that's your leadoff guy. But yeah, then the last one, of course, if you want to talk about unsung heroes, you got to go with the captain, Andrew Kisner. So I mean,
I saw
the
that.
turnaround started on his watch. I mean, if you recall, he won that game against Detroit. It was like it was the last game of the 3-game series. They lost the first two. It looked like they were going to get swept, but late in the game, he hit like a double and drove in 2 runs and put him up like 9-7 or something like that. And from there, they kind of started to go on a little bit of a run, and they switched back to Wilson Contreras and all that. So, the dude that kicked it all off, Andrew Kisner, definitely has to be mentioned.
See, and it's so funny because I just feel like I can never give Kisner any credit because I just don't want him to be our catcher so bad.
Right.
But as you said, like, if you're doing the job, you're doing the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
Yeah,
good point.
I think he's got a 115 WRC plus since that whole little catcher kerfuffle happened. So even though he's been having much less playing time now, obviously.
For sure. Well, and that's actually speaking of that catching kerfuffle, right? Whatever you said for it.
Yep.
That's actually kind of one of the villains I had here. Just like, again, not necessarily like people that are actively working against you, but just somebody that's not doing what you feel like they should be doing. And that's definitely for me, Wilson Contreras, right? So Wilson Contreras obviously, signed that 5-year deal for $87.5 million. And what we got from him so far this season, he's played 53 games, 192 at bats. He is batting .219, 359 slugging, 663 OPS. He's got 25 ribbies. He's only got 5 home runs, but again, so the 25 ribbies and 5 home runs you can kind of live with, but the 50 strikeouts, that's really bad, man. Like, and the fact that like literally you got taken off of, off the catching too. There's a reason why we brought you in, and you're not. To me, when you look at this performance that he's given you so far is not even close to being, not even close to worth the contract average amount, of 17.5 million. Like, it's not even worth 5, so I'm hoping he can turn it around. It's been very, like, I've been, I told people that were asking me questions coming into the preseason. They're like, do you think Wilson Contreras is the answer? I said, no, Wilson Contreras isn't the answer, but he's probably the best that the Cardinals are going to be able to get. So hopefully he can, help with the bat, because we know his defense isn't going to be Yachty's, because no one's defense is ever going to be Yachty's ever.
Well,
again.
no, we weren't expecting that would be.
No, of course not, exactly. Right? So again, that's what.
So he's definitely the least. Yeah, he's definitely the least disciplined. I mean, I'm looking here at the report here, at the rec report, and he's by far the least disciplined with Juan Yepes the most, but he's absolutely the worst.
He swung at 2 balls. He swung at 2 curveballs that hit the dirt before home plate this season.
Yeah. It's like, really bad. Man. I'm looking at some of these pitches; they're garbage.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that his BABIP is like 268, which almost has to get better, right? So
yeah, I mean but that's the thing is, we've been saying that for a while for Contreras. It's got to get better. I don't
know. I mean, last year he put up a 132 WRC plus with a 270 BABIP on the season, over 487 plate appearances. Yeah. So it's possible that this could stay the whole season.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm hoping not.
But I mean, he was hot there for a little while, and I think at times this team has been guilty of pressing this season. Sometimes it really does feel like they're trying to do too much. As much as you hate to use that phrase, sometimes you do just need to take your walks. Just don't take your bat off the shoulder until the pitch. Show the pitcher, look, I'll take my walk. You want to walk and you're not, throw me a strike. Exactly.
Don't swing at the freaking pitch 5 feet outside of the you know what I mean? Like, come on.
It really seems like that's how they approach our entire lineup, like up and down. Yep. It's like they just never pitch anything in the zone. It's like, hey, the Cardinals will be overly aggressive and get themselves out, guys. So just keep. I mean, you don't even have to have anything. Like you can have it 3 feet off the plate and just the worst slider ever, and they'll still swing at it because they want to hit a home run rather than just be humble and take your base.
And so listen, man, and I know this is different, but like obviously, but like my softball league, there's too many people that are on my team and definitely within the league in general that swing at garbage. And it's like, dude, just take the walk then. If the pitcher can't get it to you in the strike zone or to where you're comfortable to hit, then take the damn walk. That happened to us last week, where we just had people that were trying to be heroes. There's ducks on the pond. We need runs, and so they just try to take the damn walk. You're more of a threat when the bases are loaded. You know what I mean? And so all of a sudden now base hits for score too. You have to be able to take that. Yeah. So like a prime example of that is, so I'm a guy that I'm not a power hitter, right? But I can get hits and stuff like that. I did pretty decent in my first game back yesterday, but it was late. It was the last bottom of the 7th. We're trailing by 6 because we didn't do very well in the top of the 7th. I don't want to get into that because I don't want to relive that. But I'm up at the bat, and the pitcher, I can tell, is just not there, right? He's all over the place. Obviously, you start with a 1-1 count, throws 2 balls that are one short and one's way outside. So I'm 3-1. He pitches the next one. It's deep, but I know it's going to hit, right? So I know it's going to be a strike, but I didn't swing at it because it's not a pitch I want to swing at. You know what I mean? I have another strike. I'm cool with that. Do that money ball thing, right? Ball hits, and I'm like, all right, cool. And so I have somebody, I don't know who it was. It was probably just like a random person that was watching or whatever. They're just like, why didn't you swing at that? That was clearly a strike. And I'm sitting there going, because it's not where I want to hit. And guess what? The next pitch, he doesn't even hit the plate. It's too short. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, cool. Now I take the walk, and I'm one of the fastest guys on the team. And so it's just like, all right, so now I know that. Yeah, you know what I mean? So like now I'm more of a threat than I was swinging at that ball that it was deep. So it would have been a pop-up if I would have been able to swing around on it, or it would have been straight into the ground. You know what I mean? So how's that helping the team? Yep. And I feel like this Cardinals team, as you said, to both of you actually said it, that we're just undisciplined. And I don't know how you get to that point, like where you get to be more disciplined. But to me, I think that because OJ, you just brought it up too about Brendan Donovan taking more walks. That's what really impressed me last year about him, was that he was perfect for that leadoff spot because he just drew so many walks, and he was bringing up the pitch count, and he was just aggravating the hell out of pitchers, and you can tell. And he had that patience. All of a sudden, this season happens, and he was swinging. And it's like, why are you not taking your walks, man? So I know that we've changed hitting coaches, but man, the philosophy has changed quite a bit. So it's hard, to kind of bring that factor to it. But I really believe that's what we need to be able to do.
Well, yeah, 100%. You really do have to show them, I'm willing to call your bluff. Otherwise, they'll just keep letting you get yourself out. And I don't know. I mean, I think this kind of most recent bout of this kind of behavior from the offense, you could partially attribute it to fatigue and lack of focus, because they're complaining about, well, I don't know if they were, but that's the excuse thrown around, right? 19 games in 19 days. I mean, I'm sure they're tired. That's a pretty grueling stretch for sure. But, some of it's that, and some of it is this also comes on the heels of like multiple games in a row where they had just prodigious offensive output. So you almost think they start getting a little cocky, feeling themselves a little too much, and next thing you know, they don't, they're not as focused at the plate. They think that they're just going to knock everything over the wall.
And Contreras kind of has always had that kind of mentality too. I think he's always been a little immature in that sense, where he gets a little bit of cockiness, where he definitely can't back it up.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta keep them from getting too high. But then again, with the way the season started, you almost
there's no cockiness there. You're getting booed by our own fans.
Cocky for
Yeah.
They were getting booed by
And
our fans. There was no
OJ, that's a very
no
good
confidence. Yeah.
And OJ, that's a very good point too, because like when you're cocky and you feeling like that every ball that you hit hard is going to go over the wall, what it does is it literally subconsciously you change your bat launch angle. So instead of now you're just swinging the ball and okay, cool, you had good solid contact, it's just going over the wall. Now you're swinging up towards the wall to try to get it going. Oh, look, now it's a routine pop fly. I actually caught myself doing that in softball, again, different, but I'm just saying, in correlation to it, I was hitting home runs really well, actually, a couple years ago. And I'm like, cool, now I'm a home run hitter. I actually figured this shit out. Well, we had like a 2-week break from rainouts and stuff like that. So I'm like, I come back and I changed my swing and I felt it. I was coming up on the ball more and everything was just a pop fly, pop fly, pop fly. I'm like, well, great. Now I'm just terrible. Well, again, I got cocky and it changed everything because I thought I was just swinging for the fence every time. So that's a good point. It's a very good point.
Well, there's a difference between cocky and confident, and obviously we were lacking confidence as a team for sure for a while at the beginning of this year. And I think that we've regained some of the confidence, but of course you got to keep it in check.
Yeah, the difference between swagger and cocky, that's for sure.
Yep. And we definitely need to have
swagger,
that confidence.
leave the cockiness at the door.
Yeah, I was going to say we were lacking that confidence for sure. We felt very uneasy, but I think we've regained some of it.
Yeah. And
I will give
definitely
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say that is the theme though this season. I've noticed that the offense is really effective when they're patient at the plate. So if you notice a lot of guys taking walks, they're probably going to put up a bunch of runs and win the game. So that's nice, but obviously they just need to actually do that. I mean, some pitchers are so good. You're going to face some guys that are just spotting everything up and you're going to look like a clown no matter what. But the majority of guys are going to be human when you face them. And, you gotta have that patience and battle back, foul some off,
I'll give you another villain that I have here, and that's Montgomery. Montgomery has not done very well this season. He's 2-8, 4.48 ERA, 1.44 WHIP, and the batting average against him is 282, which is about 30 ticks higher than the league average. Jim Montgomery was great for us last season. I just don't know if he's what he's lost. I felt there was a lot of talks about him changing his fastball. He was really he was really excited, to show it off. And I'm like, cool, now he's going to be a great number 2 for us or wherever he kind of fills in that roster or the rotation. But he's really, to me, he's just not performed very well this season. What are you guys' thoughts on Montgomery?
My thoughts is that as much as he's had a rough streak here now, he also was like the one guy that you could count on in the early part of the season. Because his splits are the reverse of some of these other guys, where he's got the 3.34 ERA in the early part of the season. And in May, he's got a 6.04. So yeah, he's going through a rough stretch, but he also is still the pitcher on your team with the second most WAR. So he's definitely contributed his fair share compared to the other members of the staff.
Yeah, good point.
Probably.
Adam, what's your?
Go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree to a certain extent on that. He's obviously been more, sadly, a rotation that's taken a quite a battering because we really need to make some improvements. He's obviously been more of a solid starting pitcher for us for sure. But as of recently, what we've been seeing is that, during the stretch from the past, couple weeks, he's definitely allowing multiple runs in each of those starts. And it just is not the same Montgomery that we're used to seeing for sure. He's been fairly consistent up this year, but right now he's had a few, couple of bad outings, but I expect that, maybe with some support coming in, with, also with our bullpen as well, since obviously we're starting to see that we're having a better rotation there as well. Maybe we might actually, be able to work with him a little bit and get him the support that we need as well. So I don't know. It's not the same, like I said, not the same Montgomery we're used to seeing, but I don't anticipate this will be long term with him either.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the team's going to be successful if it is long term. You know what I mean? So hopefully it's not. And we showed us.
I don't see really any threat to his spot in the rotation right now at all.
Oh, no, certainly not.
So, I mean, because we definitely need pitching.
I don't see any threat there. So I think that whenever we'll see how he performs, obviously against Pittsburgh, but I think that things will get shaken out eventually.
When actually is he supposed to pitch?
I was actually looking up. Well, no, he's not. Probable pitchers for tomorrow's game is going to be Flaherty and Contreras. Yeah. And then no one else is officially assigned on the probable pitchers yet, but I anticipate that he'll probably be pitching either Saturday or Sunday, most likely, knowing the rotation.
I think if it's TBD, might it be Liberator's spot? When did he pitch last?
It's been a few days, I think.
Yeah, maybe
he last pitched. Let me see when he last pitched, actually. Liberator. It probably will be him because Montgomery pitched last Sunday. So I figured that Montgomery would probably be coming up for the rotation, probably either next Saturday or Sunday, most likely.
Okay.
We do have a little bit of a break right now for a couple of games, or a couple of days, I should say.
Couple days.
Yeah.
Well, guys, before we kind of get to the last point here with the Cardinals, was there anybody else that you guys would label kind of as a villain, a guy it hasn't lived up to the expectations that we kind of set for him at the beginning of the year? I mean, if it's not no big deal, we can just kind of move on. I was just seeing if there was anybody else that kind of like stood out to you guys
as being bad. Probably. Matz. I mean,
but that's
Steven Matz.
Sure.
That might be too easy. Is that too low hanging fruit or something?
I was gonna say maybe.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe O'Neill. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't hardly played.
Maybe we can hate on him, I guess, for a minute.
They were telling us about all these excellent stretching exercises he's doing. And he's still been hurt most of the season, it feels like.
Right.
Damn. Yeah, very disappointing.
Yeah, compared to what I was hoping for, so.
Well, let's take a look at the last thing I have here for the Cardinals. So, Waino obviously came back. He's been back for a little bit now, but with Waino being back, does that bring stability for the pitching staff? OJ, what's your thoughts on Waino coming back?
Yeah, I mean, so far he's actually, I think, been our worst starting pitcher.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty much by every metric. So, but he's also just getting back in there. So I'm hoping he just needs some time to get warm and start feeling it. But yeah, I mean, I think him being around has definitely helped with the mentality and everything, because he knows how to win and all that. Like, if you think about it, he's the adult in the room, basically, at this point.
The old man in the room,
Ollie Marmol's like 36 or something, and he's never done anything at the major league level.
Touche.
So, I mean, he doesn't have, like, experience, when it's all on the line and shit like that. No, because he never played in the majors even. So, to me, Adam Wainwright was some sorely needed leadership.
For sure. Obviously, his last outing, obviously on Monday, which was terrible for us because it was damn near a perfect game, against us until like the 8th or whatever. I forgot what it was, but anyway, yeah, it was obviously no movement for us, but of course, for the Royals, we were giving up, gave up a total of 7, but obviously not all on him, but still. You know,
Yeah.
That's the thing. We're not going to be. He's just not going to be able to put up quality starts. I don't think.
Yeah, to me, I think that he should be like a middle reliever kind of right now. I mean, until he can find that stroke, because right now Waino is 2-1 in the season, 6.15 ERA, and that's only in 26.1 innings pitched.
I was going to say he's hardly pitched at all because he has only had 16 strikeouts. So
his whip is 1.71, which is incredibly high. His batting average against is 325, which is 0.77 higher than the league average right now. Like, something has got to change there for Waino. I love Waino to death, but something has got to change there.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that it's just because he's still just coming back from an injury. Those old guys, they don't recover so fast. So I got to give him some extra games. But hopefully,
I just don't see him putting any, like I said, any quality starts. Honestly,
quality starts are rare these days anyway.
Really are. But for a 41-year-old at this point that's already had some issues already,
I think to this point the Cardinals starters have pitched like the sixth most of their innings, something like that, out of the whole league. So I mean, they do have a couple of games in hand on a lot of teams, but even if you account for that, like, they're still pretty high up there, certainly above average. So like, they're eating innings compared to the rest of the league. It's just, that's the way it is these days.
Touche. That's one of the reasons why they're wanting to make some of the changes as well. With the quality, with the quality start in the DL and all that as well. With the MLB change, the rule changes and whatever. Where they have to, get a quality start in order to keep the DL. Otherwise, the pitcher has to bat or whatever.
I do like that because it brings some more strategy back into the game.
For sure.
Yeah. It is good, but man.
Well, guys, let's transition here to some get off Cardinals baseball here at this point. Let's transition to some Battlehawks. We haven't talked about the Battlehawks in quite a while, but I got to label off some stuff as we're preparing for the draft for the XFL, which I'm going to get into that because the draft for the XFL, as I did a lot of research, is little kids cover years. It's a clusterfuck, and I'll get into that.
Yes, it is.
But let's talk about some of the players that left. So the players that have so this is not the players. There's a lot that have been invited to camps, but these are the ones that have been officially signed to NFL teams. Hakeem Butler went to Pittsburgh on May 16th. He was signed. He had 51 receptions, 599 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Jared Jones-Smith, who's an offensive lineman for us, went to Washington on May 16th. I have no stats because XFL apparently doesn't keep any stats on their offensive linemen. Wide receiver Gary Jennings went to Carolina on May 16th, 11 receptions, 149 yards, 3 touchdowns, which is crazy. So he had 3 touchdowns and 11 receptions the entire year. That's awesome. Defensive back Lucas Dennis went to Atlanta on May 15th, 16 tackles, 2 tackles for losses, 1 sack, 2 interceptions. Defensive lineman LaCale London also went to Atlanta on May 15th, 15 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. The good news about this is for the Battlehawks is AJ McCarron is not on that list, and he was not invited to any camps so far. So that is – go ahead.
I have some breaking news. We also have 2 more that were signed today. Marcel Aitman, who is a wide receiver, was signed by the Bills.
Damn it. That's
literally like an hour, like a couple hours ago. And Darius Shepard, another wide receiver, was signed by the Chargers.
Wide receiving core.
Literally, our wide receiving just got wiped.
I know.
Yep. So there you go. Breaking news. I got to be the deliverer of bad news today.
Because I was literally just going, okay, at least we still have Aitman and Shepard because they're both really good. So it's like, all right, cool. So just get a big body receiver to replace Butler. But fuck.
Yep. Aitman went to the Bills and Shepard to the Bolts. So there you go.
Damn it. OJ, what were you?
Oh no, nothing. I was gonna say, I mean, it sucks we lost all these guys, but it is interesting that so many are getting signed in the NFL. Like, I don't know. I seem to remember an article on The Athletic where they're saying, oh, well, the quality of college football is still higher than that of the XFL because, they haven't gotten around, they haven't been together as long. And so the college football stuff they have an entrenched program and they know what they're doing and all that. But like once the XFL has been around longer, it's made all up of guys that were drafted, which college is not. So,
yep.
Well, okay, so
it only makes sense the quality of play would get higher.
Well, you say that, right? So so let me just go through this real quick and then we can discuss that because that's a decent point, right? So just some information real quick on the XFL draft, which is happening the 16th of this month. So just in 15 days. We do have the 4th overall pick. This is the criteria for the XFL draft. Eligible to have been drafted in the 23 NFL draft and is not currently under any contracts. Players have an NFL out clause if signed by NFL team by December 26th. So essentially, even if you sign a contract with the XFL, if you get signed to an NFL contract before December 26th, then you are no longer responsible for the XFL contract. Right? Yeah, obligated. That's the word I was looking for. So this is where this gets to be really chaotic. So last year, there was 1,700 players that were in the pool for the XFL, and only obviously 586 teams or players were taken. Now they are expanding the rosters to 90 players. The XFL pool, because now that the criteria is expanded, it's over 8,000 players.
Yep.
So when I was trying to prepare for this to see who we needed, it's almost impossible because there's a lot. There's like, for example, right? So these are just 5 players that meet these criteria, right? Frank Clark, which Adam, you and I both watched for the Kansas City Chiefs last year. No fucking way he's going to the XFL. Kenny Golladay, no way he's going to the XFL. Teddy Bridgewater, Kareem Hunt, Darrell Henderson. There's no way. Like these guys don't find a roster. Now they may get signed to like a practice squad or like a backup role, and they say, no, screw that. I'm going to go be a starter. They might do that, but why would you turn down the money of the NFL?
Yeah, exactly. Because they're not going to be making shit over at the XFL. So,
and
a lot of these guys that are, well, I just want to say real quick, because a lot of these guys that are getting drafted by the NFL may not wind up starting anyway. They'll probably wind up on a practice squad to begin with. That's what a lot of these guys more than likely will wind up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So, just saying.
Yeah, this is where, though, I differ from you, OJ. So you see what just happened to the Battlehawks. Our entire wide receiver core, outside of Austin Proehl, is gone.
Gone, yeah.
So to me, how is this sustainable for the XFL? Legitimately, Adam and I have already renewed our tickets. It's a fun atmosphere, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be a completely different team.
A whole new team. Yep, it really will be.
And I do have a feeling that AJ McCarron's going to get signed. Not somewhat, man. Like it's if you look at this, so the player and the list was way too long for players that got invited to camps, right? But Austin
Proehl,
for
our
example,
wide receivers are officially signed. Yeah, 4 of our wide receivers are completely gone,
and 3 more of our wide receivers got invited to camp.
Yeah.
So like, it's just going to be hard. So how do you do that? Because this is the thing.
So, how many of these guys that got invited to camp are going to wind up back in the XFL anyway?
Well, true. But, okay, still 4 of our top receivers, again, outside of Austin Proehl, just got signed. So, like, what do we do? So, we just for our draft, because, like,
we're going to have a whole new team, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
Just go, wide receiver. Pick 2 wide receiver.
So, yeah.
We ought to wait and see how it shakes out for some of these guys and see who actually is returning next year before we make definitive claims about that. But it's a lot of guys, but theoretically the same thing could happen in the transfer portal in college sports. It hasn't yet, but I guarantee you it's going to at some point when some coach gets fired or something, and the entire receiver corps is going to all leave.
Yeah, we've already seen that with Deion Sanders, for example. Deion Sanders goes to Colorado, and half the team that he was with, literally from the HBCU team, has now come over to Colorado, including his son. So it's just like, Go ahead.
I was going to say, in addition to that whole June 16th draft, there also is the camps that they're setting up that is for people that want to try out basically 4 spots, and that's going to be set up in July before the combine.
Right.
Yeah. So just FYI, because I know that they're holding an event like at the beginning of July at Webster, from my understanding.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually really interesting too. So I did do a little bit of research while trying to prepare for this draft. So the NFL did allow XFL personnel to watch the combine and watch any of the like workouts and stuff like that. They were not allowed to interact with players, obviously. So they were literally like up in the media booth. You know what I mean? Like of the stadium that they're the combine. But to me, that's really cool that the NFL is saying, okay, cool. You know what? You are not allowed to talk to them. You're not allowed to interact with them, but you can watch tape and you can get your own impressions of them. Sure. To me, and again, it feels like The Rock really wants to make this work with the NFL, but also have his own thing, because they had an agreement that this is not the minor leagues, that this is not going to be that we're not going to share players. But The Rock isn't stupid. He's not Vince McMahon says, okay, nope, you signed a 3-year contract. You're staying in the XFL for 3 years. Right. Yeah. That's what it was prior. And it pissed a lot of players off. It's the reason why a lot of players did not want to come.
Well, they look at this as an opportunity to be able to play while they can potentially get back into it, So it gives them an option to, to say, hey, I'm playing, I'm out there, having some fun or whatever, but I'm also trying to make a name for myself, So it gives them an option. It's better than just sitting on the bench.
Well, look at Ben DiNucci. Ben DiNucci is now going to be in the farm, not the farm system, but he went to Denver. He went to Denver. He went to Denver. Boston. He's not packed a car by the harbor, and he's selling some hammerhead shark down by the river. Jesus, I don't know what the hell that was, but he's now going to Denver. But the thing about that is, with the old XFL, the 2020 rendition of the XFL, that was not allowed. Because if you signed a 3-year contract, you were in that 3-year contract. So, like, for example, AJ McCarron signs a 3-year contract. Now they at least have that opt-out clause. And it is eligible for every single year, too. So, like, if I play 1 year, don't get picked up, I come back to the XFL for the second year, then I do get picked up, then obviously everything is waived. Now, if I do come back to the XFL, the rights do go back to the team that you're at. But it's only a 2-year grace period on that. So if you were in the NFL for 2 years, then you come back essentially as a free agent, if that makes sense. But it's just, to me, it's going to be kind of a cluster. And OJ, you brought up a good point about like the portal, the transfer portal and stuff like that in college football. But it's just, to me, they're going to have to figure out how to do the draft very well. Because here's the thing too. So, okay, we draft like 4 wide receivers, like in our first 4 rounds of the XFL draft, right? And they haven't really released details on like how many rounds it's going to be, how the proceedings are going to be, or anything like that. I think we'll get probably a little bit closer to the 16th was when the draft happens. Yep. I mean, it's all virtual too, but I think that they said that it won't probably be on ESPN, but it'll be online so everybody can just watch it. So I'm like, okay, sure. Cool.
That's what I was going to say. They did it last time that same way or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, but I think they're trying to do a little bit of a better presentation this time around. Actually have like analysts talk about the player and like their stats and like
versus just releasing a list.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than just being like, here's the name. You know what I mean? So anyways, but the problem with that is, so say we draft the 4 wide receivers, right? We spent a lot of draft capital on these wide receivers, right? We're happy with them, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, the New England Patriots go, crap, we don't have wide receivers, and they signed all 4. I'm just using it as a stupid thing. All of a sudden now we're out all 4 of those wide receivers, and now we got to go find something else. You know what I mean? So to me, that's where this is going to happen.
Spot, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And they can get picked up at any point until December. Which then, if you remember correctly, so you have until Christmas, essentially, and you're not going to do any signing or anything like that especially for the XFL, between Christmas and New Year. So you literally then have 2 months to find another wide receiver, get him trained on the playbook, get him to correlate with the quarterback, get him correlated with the wide receiver group and stuff like that.
So in essence, you lose your pick, basically. So
you see what I'm saying? So that's where, to me, this is like, I'm excited. Don't get me wrong. I'm very happy to be a season ticket holder. I love the Battlehawks, but this is where I was fearful last time of the draft and stuff like that until I learned the McMahon rule, essentially. I'm happy for the players, but this is going to be very hard.
They really shouldn't have that rule. Like if you in my opinion, otherwise that's going to really screw things over, until December. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that if you're going to if you're drafted, you're drafted, and then it's a 1 year deal at least. You know what I mean? Like it's a year by year deal or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, but we'll see how it affects us for sure.
Yeah, because I don't know. To me,
maybe it'll be a big nothing. Who knows?
Yeah, those extreme situations are going to be pretty rare, I would think. But
well, yeah. I mean, I was just using that as an analogy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, in the worst case scenario, it could get pretty rough, and there's definitely problems with it. But I don't know. I guess that's kind of how it has to operate, or it wouldn't operate at all, right?
Right.
It'd make players feel like they can actually, go and play for the NFL if they earn that right. Yeah,
because I have a feeling that there probably won't be too many players that will be in that little area there where they get drafted by the XFL and then immediately picked up by the NFL. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
yeah, because they just got passed over in a draft, right? So,
right.
I mean, there's some guys get signed to practice team that didn't get drafted and stuff for sure, but
we shall see.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so hard because actually, I was getting frustrated when I was trying to prepare for this because I'm like, I just don't know exactly how. There's too many players to talk about, right? We can talk about needs, right? So obviously we need wide receivers.
Oh, 100%.
We just talked about that forever, right?
We also need to make sure we're looking at our defensive line as well, because if we've seen
exactly what I was just about to say.
Yeah. I was going to say our defensive line just really, especially in the last half of the season, just completely fell apart. So that's the only thing that we had going for us at the very beginning of the season. It felt like,
Yeah.
So
keep us at least in contention. So anyway, go ahead.
These were my top 3 needs. You guys can comment on what you guys think. And if you have something different, just let me know. So obviously wide receiver, definitely number 1. It's even more number 1 now. Offensive line, because we lost our best offensive lineman by statistical standards, size and stuff. But we also gave up the second most sacks last year of 30. So we gave up 3 sacks per game.
Yeah.
Our defensive linemen, which have most of the defensive linemen on invites right now. Now, we've only got 1 that's signed. I'm assuming most of them will be back. However, out of the 8 teams, we were 7th in the league with 19 sacks. Something's going to change there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Agreed.
For sure.
Because obviously with McCarron and the way that he operates anyway, he really has to, he operates really in the pocket 100%. You know what I mean? Like he's that kind of quarterback, and if we collapse, he's going to be sacked every time. So
yeah, I don't know. It's just going to be, I don't know. It's just going to be one of those things we're going to have to kind of keep up with. And as we get close to the draft, if we find out any more information, we'll definitely share it with you listeners, and
for sure
we'll hopefully be able to find out some stuff. Maybe we'll get Frank Clark. That'd be awesome.
I was going to say, if worst case scenario, they can't find anybody else, one of our wonderful listeners who's great at football can go try out in July at Webster. So good luck.
Guys, I don't want to have to quit the podcast here, but I'm going to be making the Battlehawks.
I was going to say, who knows? I was going to say, won't that be awkward? You're a player and you're
OJ,
a season ticket holder?
I know, yeah. OJ, I think you and I need to try out so we can just sit there and talk. We did in football practice all those years ago. Hopefully you don't separate your shoulder this time around.
Yeah.
Man, I remember that too. Dude, hold on. So do you remember that one? It was a game. I had to borrow your helmet, and that was the game that I caught that touchdown in. You remember that?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, Adam! I just told you that story. Oh my God! So I literally just I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but OJ, you remember how shitty our quarterback was freshman year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. So
you just told me this story the other day.
That's the one thing I forgot to tell you about, Adam, is I was wearing, since I lost my helmet, or you know what it was? It was confiscated. That's what it was. It was confiscated. So I didn't have my helmet, and I'm like, great, what do I do? And so OJ's like, here, you can wear my helmet, and I caught the touchdown in it. Super funny. Yeah.
That's funny. So.
Yeah, that's super funny. I just remember that. It's hilarious. God, that was years ago. I mean, oh man, I'm getting old. Okay, anyways, guys, let's move on here.
It was a long time ago.
Isn't it crazy? But yeah, all right. Anyways, yeah. All right, guys, let's talk about some NHL playoffs here. So we have the finals coming up here that starts tonight, I believe, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, and that's the Florida Panthers versus the the Vegas Golden Knights. So let's just start it off. Adam, who do you got winning the series?
I have the Panthers winning it. Damn it. Because like 98% of the U.S. is rooting for Florida because they are rooting against Vegas. There you go.
Yeah, I'd say probably so. I mean, I'm going for Florida as well. I mean, always got to root for the St. Louis people. So got to go for Kachuk.
St. Louis natives, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, St. Louis natives, absolutely.
Yep, 100%.
So give me Kachuk.
I was gonna say he's been looking really good in this, in the playoffs so far. So they're going to be kicking off, I think, in an hour or two. I think probably in an hour.
Yeah.
Because I think they're actually out in Vegas tonight. So
correct. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
So who do you guys have as an X factor from each team? If you don't have anybody, that's cool because I got it here, but. For me, like for Florida, I have Sam Reinhart, who, if anybody remembers, was actually the second overall pick for Buffalo way back in the day. In the playoffs, 7 goals, 4 assists. He's got 31 goals, 36 6 assists from the season. He's been playing very well. I kind of, to me, I mean, you can go with Matthew Tkachuk and stuff like that. To me, he's kind of the X factor because I believe it's going to be kind of one of those guys that's going to be written underneath the radar, you know what I mean? And then on the opposite side for Vegas, I have William Carrier, which, by the way, was a second-round pick for the St. Louis Blues way back in the day. He doesn't have the stats that I would think that he would. He's only got 2 goals, 2 assists in the playoffs. He was 16-9 this season, 16 goals, 9 assists, which to me is a little low. But I think that William Carrier is going to end up being something in this final. Unfortunately, because I don't want Vegas to win, but I just have a feeling for that.
Yeah.
Anybody else kind of speaks to you guys?
Probably Montour as well for Florida. So
that's a good point. Yeah, Montour's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty strong defenseman there for sure. Trying to think who else.
I got nothing.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things because it's not like we watched either of these teams a lot, you know what I mean? And we watched them a little bit in the playoffs, but it's super hard.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here, guys, let's just get to the NBA straw hat update.
Maybe Barbashev, I don't know. for the Knights,
I'm not mentioning Barbie. Not mentioning Barbie. Damn it.
I was gonna say maybe him for the for Vegas. I guess I don't know because I missed the guy.
Alrighty.
Anyway.
So let's get to our straw hat updates.
Yes.
And it is the Miami Heat, which is Adam's team, versus the Denver Nuggets, which is my team. OJ, I'm very sorry. What really screwed OJ over was having his last 2 teams in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Like, that really. And dude, I thought the Celtics were going to be able to come back. I thought they were going to win Game 7, man. Like, I couldn't believe that they brought them back from the brink. But it is what it is at this point. But. Sorry, OJ.
Nuggets are up 82-60 in looks like about the end of the third quarter.
All right. Well, I like that because my Nuggets are going to
take
us home, baby.
Damn it.
Yep. Yeah.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. Well,
obviously,
OJ,
I hope
Golden State Warriors.
Yeah. Who do you got winning this, OJ? Since you're out, who do you got?
Well, I'm never ever gonna predict anything good for Stan Kroenke's team, so I think you know my answer.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going Miami Heat.
Let's go Heat.
Yes, sir.
Let's go Heat. Let's go Jimmy Butler. Let's go Jimmy Butler. Come on.
All right, gentlemen. You say it again?
I was just saying they play championship basketball.
They really do, though. I mean, like besides Game 5, 6, and 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, they definitely play championship caliber basketball. They definitely did for Game 7. And Jimmy Butler is just a different cat in the playoffs, man. So not terribly too certain. We might see something really special out of him.
Definitely.
Yeah. Just hoping.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and head to our sign-offs here after the Nuggets are going to win this series. But anyways,
no, absolutely
Adam, why don't you
happening.
tell the good people what our socials are?
You can reach us and you can tell us all about how you are a huge Miami Heat fan on Facebook.com/the Hometown Losers. That's LOUSERS. Or check us out on Twitter and tweet us about how great the Miami Heat are and that they will defeat the Nuggets on Twitter.com/Hometown
Without
Losers.
a doubt. Without a doubt.
I hate my friends so much.
You're welcome.
Friends.
All righty.
What are friends?
Yeah, I say it every single session. My co-host, we didn't ever say we were friends, right?
For sure.
Remember that time I let you borrow my helmet, Josh? Yeah, there was lice in it. All right, OJ, what you got for your game of the week?
Well, I got the rubber match of the Pittsburgh game on Saturday. Cardinals versus Luis Ortiz. The pitcher is TBD, but I did notice they skipped Liberatore's time through the rotation using for these couple days. So probably be Montgomery going on Saturday. So it'd be nice to see him get back on a roll and shut these guys down, and we can start take a bunch of games against a division opponent.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, as you said, OJ, it's like you have to start with that one game and then just start going for it. You know what I mean? Just get a streak building and get some games back for the division. So,
yeah.
All righty. Exactly. Well, gentlemen, that's going to conclude here. And I didn't say it at the beginning, I don't think. So this is actually session 25. We've hit the quarter century mark at our 25th century. It's crazy, but it's been awesome talking St. Louis sports with you, gents. Appreciate what you guys do. Appreciate the listeners as well. And we will catch you here next week on the Hometown Losers podcast. Have a great night, everybody. Hey, this is Josh. Thanks for checking out and tuning in to the Hometown Losers podcast. Check us out next week as we continue our silliness and talk a little bit about the St. Louis sports scene. Catch you next week.